Adam checking in from the cockpit of the 2003 Volkswagen Passat W8. Just got it back from the shop last week after having quite a bit of work done to it to get things buttoned up, and decided it would be reliable enough at this point to actually use it beyond going a few miles from the house. So I decided to drive it this week to my client's office, which is a 50 miles one way. So I'm going to put 200-300 miles on it this week. It's a great highway cruiser. You know, I'm driving 72 right now with the cruise on, and it's just like it's just awesome. It floats right along. It's a nice handling car, nice riding car, quiet, even though I've got the louder straight through exhaust. I don't know if you can hear it on this video from my phone, but it's not bad. I mean, you can hear it, but I'm not getting a headache from drone or anything like that. Snowed this week in Virginia, and so had some fun, or this past weekend really got to go out in the snow with it. The 4Motion, or it's the same as the Quattro, the Torsen, you know, full-time all-wheel drive system is epic in the snow. It just works really great. You know, I'm cruising along on this commute, and I'm getting about 21 miles per gallon, which is not bad, really. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the work I had done. So after I got this car, I spent about a month with it, just looking at it, going over it, picking over it, trying to make a list of everything that was wrong or broken, and then fixing what I could that was inexpensive, accepting that some things like a bad vanity light switch I don't care about, but noticing that leaking a puddle of gear oil on the floor every morning out of the center diff is probably bad. So prioritizing my maintenance and repairs, and then fortunately I have a great shop I use that does the European cars. It's called Perception Motor Werks in Powhatan, Virginia. Mike and Rachel are the married couple that own it. They do awesome work. They've done work on my Golf, some of the upgrades I've done that I wasn't comfortable with. And between the two of them, they're really great, because Mike's been doing Volkswagen and Audis, or Audis primarily, since the early 2000s. So he was around when these cars were out. He's worked on the W12s in the Bentleys. They do Porsche, so he's very knowledgeable, and he's not scared to look at a car like this. There are a lot of people that are. And Rachel's not scared to order used parts or find things on eBay. So between the two of them, I was confident that they could get my car straight, and they did. So dropped it off. They had it about a week, really spent some quality time with it, drove it, everything, and then came up with a list, sent it over. We talked about what to fix, what not, what could wait, and went ahead and got them going on it. So the list it's not short, but it wasn't awful. So the prop shaft on that seal on that center diff was replaced. There was also a missing heat shield there, so that's sorted out. The transmission was shifting a little. It's an auto. It was shifting and having hiccups. My opinion on things like that is you always try a fluid change and see, and it actually worked great. The hiccups are gone. So fluid filter change. The pan bolts were so corroded, I think you probably had to drill some of them out, so we had to put all new pan bolts in it, but that's sorted out. Oil pan had been hit and was gouged, so it was also leaking badly from the seal, so clearly from being hit would be my guess. Had them drop the pan, reseal it, do a 9-liter Liquimoly oil change. That's a big one. So I got all that buttoned up. The front driver's side CV axle unit was bad, torn boots, you know, the CV joint was on the way out, so I had that replaced. What else did we do? Brake fluid, it needed to be changed. It had too much moisture. It was very dirty. The brakes work phenomenally now, and actually during that process they found a busted vacuum line that they were able to fix, not replace, because the part's not available anymore. The snub mount, the engine mount on the very front crossbeam by the radiator was pretty deteriorated. Was able to replace that. And really just lots of odds and ends. So bolts, nuts, things that were missing. The motor has been out of this car because the transmission had been replaced at some point. You have to pull the motor. And I'm guessing that a lot of the little small things were related to maybe somebody that wasn't as experienced working on this, pulling the motor out. So they actually, even one of the pieces that was necessary to replace, they pulled it off an Audi station wagon that they have made up as a race car right on there, right at their shop. So, you know, that's the kind of shop these guys are. They just do phenomenal work. A couple things I didn't fix. The power steering pump and the lines are leaking. It's not awful. I poured some stop leak in it. We'll see what that does over the year, but I might replace that next year. You can get a pump for $180 at FCP Euro. I'm not worried about sourcing that part. And finally, the headlights. The ballasts are on their way out. One of the bulbs is even almost pinkish color at this point, so it's 18 years old. And the way the HIDs on this work is they run all the time. They're also the daytime running lights, which is really a stupid design. It just reduces their life. So at some point I'm going to pop the lights and do that work, but we're going to be in daylight savings time soon, and to be honest with you, you're just not going to use your lights much the rest of the year until winter again, so I've got time to work on that. So all in all, everything's fixed. It rides great, drives great. You know, people talk about these W8s like they're the unbelievably most unreliable cars on the road, and maybe some of that is deserved, but some of that's also, I mean, it's 18-year-old Passat, so you have 18-year-old Passat issues, you have 18-year-old car issues, and then you combine that with this somewhat more complicated W8 engine that has to be removed for a lot of simple tasks, as an oxygen sensor, cam adjusters, all these different catalytic converters. You have to pull the motor for that because there's just no room. And I think that's where this mostly is coming from. But, you know, keep in mind, this car was a single owner over almost its whole life, and while that single owner seemed to take care of it pretty well, most owners don't do all the maintenance that's necessary. And that maintenance isn't oil changes and tire rotations and some brakes once in a while. It's changing the auto transmission fluid every couple years, changing the diff fluids, changing the brake fluid. And so that's really what bites you on these older cars. And so hopefully I've started the clock somewhat over by doing some of those services. But, you know, they had the oil pan off and said the bottom end of the motor looked clean and good, no sludge. That's great. That must mean they were using reasonable quality oils. And hopefully when they had the motor out for the transmission, they also fixed everything else they could if they were smart. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, it could catastrophically fail while I'm making this video. I mean, that's just life with an 18-year-old car. But I think if I had to pay that repair bill every year, I probably wouldn't be too upset about it. You're really just trying to avoid the giant bill of pulling the motor out. And I'm thinking about a 5,000 or less mile a year use. And I think for that, we'll see how she goes. Talk to you soon.